The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
A major change in immigration policy in a 5-4 ruling. The justice announced Thursday morning that after more than 4 years in place, the Immigration Protection Protocols policy, better known as MPP or Remain in Mexico, can end under the Biden administration.
Yeah, that policy has allowed for U.S. border officers to return certain asylum seekers to Mexico while they wait for the U.S. court hearings. It's estimated more than 71,000 people wait in refugee camps in border cities like Reynosa and Matamoros, some of the most dangerous areas in Mexico.
Alicia Barrera has more about the future of the asylum seekers and how the state of Texas plans to respond.
An estimated 71,000 migrants wait in Mexican refugee camps for their future to be determined by the U.S. government.
The MPP cases that have been decided so far, it's about 32,000 people who have been issued removal orders and only about 750 people who have been granted protection.
Sarah Ramey is the executive director for the Migrant Center for Human Rights, and she says it boils down to access and lack of safety.
It's almost impossible to obtain a U.S. immigration attorney being out of the country. It's also very difficult for individuals there to have a safe, confidential space where they can, and have the technology where they can zoom in or do even a basic phone call with an attorney. Preparing paperwork.
Which is why immigration advocates embrace SCOTUS's ruling on MPP.
It is a very positive step forward.
However, just yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott said it would add to the staggering numbers of crossings at the border.
If they do not follow the standard, Texas can take legal action and go to court to hold the president, to hold Secretary Mayorkas and other operatives in the federal government in contempt of court.
As of this afternoon, it remains unclear if the Biden administration will end this program immediately or wait for the Texas federal court to rule.
So the lower courts were given a pretty clear mandate. The injunction was termed illegal.
Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
We are learning more details about what officials say happened leading up to dozens of migrants being found dead in the back of a tractor trailer on the southwest side of San Antonio. The Associated Press reporting that those people were inside that trailer when it went through a border checkpoint northeast of Laredo. The Associated Press, citing an unnamed official, says that 73 people were in that trailer when it was found here, including the 53 that died. What officials have yet to find out or reveal is whether the driver was questioned by agents at the checkpoint or if they just waved him through. According to U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar, who represents District 28, investigators believe that the migrants boarded that trailer in or around Laredo. That has not been officially confirmed, by the way, but it does fit the pattern as described by Border Patrol officials, where migrants cross the border on foot and hide before getting picked up and taken to the nearest major city. The suspected driver in the 53 tractor trailer deaths made his first appearance in federal court today. Homer Zamorano Jr. facing a charge of human smuggling resulting in death. In the tragedy of these deaths, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says he's hoping to see some changes. Garrett Berger has more.
Angling for a meeting, Sheriff Javier Salazar sent a frustrated letter to President Joe Biden, saying in part, quote, "I'm angry that I could not stop this massive loss of life in my county. I'm angry that, despite my best efforts to appeal to your administration, I have not received a response."
I can tell you, from the perception from certain Texas sheriffs that I've seen and talked to is we haven't seen them. They haven't been down here. None of them have come to visit.
But Salazar says he's since heard back from the White House, and a meeting with the administration and other urban county sheriffs could be in the cards. But Salazar says he wants to come to the table with solutions, though he does not have a final list of them.
I'm actually meeting with folks that can help me craft some of those solutions.
And speaking with KSAT, the sheriff did mention federal funding for migration hubs like San Antonio and Bexar County, allowing migrants to work legally and making it easier to get legal entry to the U.S.
Now they don't have to be smuggled into the country illegally by the cartels. Next thing you know, the cartels, it removes the financial incentive for them to do this.
But for at least 53 people, it's already too late. Homero Zamorano Jr., the suspected driver of the tractor trailer, appeared in federal court today.
Zamorano, if convicted, could face life in prison or even the death penalty.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has asked that he be detained pending trial. He has a hearing scheduled for next Wednesday, July 6th. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
And at 7 o'clock tonight, a citywide memorial mass will be held for the migrants abandoned in that tractor trailer at the San Fernando Cathedral. Organizers say this will be a multi-faith memorial and prayer vigil. If you cannot attend San Fernando, you are encouraged to join at your own congregation or in your front yard. Another big story we are following this evening, a deadly crash believed to be a human smuggling attempt in Ensenada this morning. It happened along I-35 just before 8:30, according to state troopers. The driver was trying to get away from the pursuing Border Patrol. We're told he was speeding when he took the exit, lost control, and hit a parked semi's trailer. 4 male passengers died at the scene. 2 are from Guatemala. 1 is from Mexico. It is not yet known where the 4th victim came from. 3 other men, including the driver, were hurt. The state troopers say he is in critical condition. And we now know the name of the 17-year-old shot and killed on the city's north side late last night. He's been identified as Alex Reyes. San Antonio police responded to the 200 block of Rex Street near Main Avenue and Horace Street around 10. They were initially answering shots fired calls a few blocks away when officers heard gunshots. When they reached the scene, officers found Reyes on the ground already dead. No sign of the suspect or suspects. Investigators believe the shooting was the result of something that happened at a nearby park.
The Bexar County Medical Examiner also identifying the victim in a shootout outside an East Side convenience store this past Tuesday. 21-year-old Corey Maddox killed outside the Circle K near W.W. White Road and East Houston Street about 4:15 that morning. Police telling us at the time the driver of a blue car had gone into the store when someone else pulled up and started shooting. The driver of the blue car came out and returned fire. The other driver sped off to an apartment complex, then ditched the car, leaving Maddox behind. He died at the scene.
And police also investigating a drive-by shooting that sent a teenager to the hospital overnight. It happened in the 200 block of West Gerald Avenue near Pleasanton Road around 12:30. That's on the south side. Officers say some teams were playing basketball when a dark-colored drove by and started shooting. A 16-year-old was hit by a bullet fragment on his side. He was taken to University Hospital. He's expected to be okay. As for the suspect vehicle, it was long gone by the time police arrived.
And Crime Stoppers asking for your help in identifying an aggravated robbery suspect. Take a look at your screen. San Antonio police say the suspect allegedly confronted a worker at a McDonald's, threatened him, demanded money from the register. The suspect got the money and left. This all happened in the 1800 block of South New Braunfels Avenue about 5 p.m. last April. If you have any information on who this guy may be, call Crime Stoppers at 210-224-STOP.
And even police investigators were baffled by the trail of blood leading from an empty apartment with an open door. That's what SAPD found early this morning when they answered a call about gunshots near Loop 410 and Morrison. As Katrina Weber reports, they eventually found some answers, though officers had trouble finding all the victims.
At a little after 5 a.m., San Antonio police find themselves in the dark in more ways than one. They were trying to make sense of the scene they found at an apartment in the 100 block of Emerald Ash. Officers were responding to a call about shots fired when they found the door on a third-floor unit wide open with no one inside. Outside, police found shell casings and a trail of blood leading down to the sidewalk, indicating that someone may have been hurt.
This is one of those cases that has had police working backwards. They found all kinds of evidence of a crime, but no victim. At least not at first.
Police did find out a couple lives in that Southside home. They say relatives were able to track down the 28-year-old woman who was unharmed. She told officers she and her boyfriend were victims of a home invasion, that she ran off when 2 men with guns kicked in their door. But police did not know right away what happened to her boyfriend, who they suspect may be injured. They searched but did not find him. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
And one person is in the hospital, another arrested after an early morning crash on the northeast side of the city. It happened around 2:30 near Loop 410 and I-35 interchange. Officers say the driver of the black pickup caused the collision with two other vehicles. A woman in one of those vehicles was taken to BAMC with life-threatening injuries, but her condition has since been upgraded. Now, the driver of the pickup was arrested. Police tell us he was intoxicated. No one else was hurt.
Check out time saver traffic right now. We're going to go to I-10 in Hackberry, where you can see traffic is very slow going. We don't know of any accidents, but there may be a stalled vehicle that's causing this. Again, it's I-10 at Hackberry. I think it's the eastbound lanes of I-10 that are backing up there on this Thursday evening. An emotional scene today in Uvalde as family members of the victims look for any answers and information from city leaders weeks, a month and a half almost, after that incident happened. The city council held a special meeting today and directly spoke to families about their frustrations with the Robb Elementary investigation. RJ Marquez has more from Uvalde.
A wide range of emotions played out today inside that city council meeting, and unfortunately there was not much more information given to these families about the investigation into that massacre. Again, dozens of family members were in attendance here today. The city council and Mayor Don McLaughlin reiterated that their hands are tied and they cannot release more information or records about the massacre because that would directly interfere with ongoing investigations by Texas DPS and the Uvalde County District Attorney. That caused a lot of people to vent their frustrations with the lack of information they have received. Some called for the removal of Uvalde District Attorney Christina Mitchell Busby and for something to be done for the city to get more details. The stepfather of Emery Joe Garza got very emotional talking to city council.
We want y'all to look at this, not as a mayor. I'm trying. As a city council member. Look at it as a dad, as a parent. Don't do what you can do as a mayor. Go beyond that. I know there's a limit on what you can do. Go beyond that. What if it was your kid?
Yep.
You what? You can't say nothing.
I can't.
Nobody
You're right.
can.
You're right. I
We
can't.
understand that. So do your part for us.
And one person not here today at this meeting was City Council member and Uvalde District Police Chief Pete Arredondo. This counts as his second missed City Council meeting, meaning that a third could lead to his removal. The mayor here saying that that is a step that they are prepared to take if it comes to that. Reporting in Uvalde, RJ Marquez, KSAT 12 News.
97 degrees out there. Does it feel good to you out there? Because it's not 100 plus. It's 97.
Really? There's a big difference there.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It felt refreshing today.
I think it's,
cool down.
It's just a mindset thing, right?
For me, it's the humidity. Like
Yes.
the humidity is what I look at almost as much as the temperature.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We've got a lot of moisture around and humidity on the higher side. But compared to the last couple of days, it was very dry today and radar was pretty quiet. A few little pop-ups here or there, but really not much to write home about. All right, so that's it for June. Today's high temperature, 98, and that officially makes June 2022 our hottest June on record here in San Antonio. These are records going back to around 1885. Our average temperature this month, 87.7 degrees. High temperatures elsewhere, 100 Hondo, 101 in Del Rio, so plenty toasty out there today. Through about sunset, can't rule out a little pop-up shower. Overwhelming majority of us will miss out. Mainly just warm, humid with a little breeze as we wrap up your Thursday. More on what the holiday weekend has in store coming up here in just a bit.
15 years old, had his whole life ahead of him, and now we're planning his funeral.
Tonight on the Night Beat, a father shares his heartbreak just days after his son's murder. His warning to San Antonio teenagers tonight. And one abortion clinic in San Antonio is reopened, but their time may be running out. The message they're sharing with potential patients as the state attorney general's fight on abortion continues. Those stories and more on the Night Beat at 10.
It is almost the weekend. We're all planning. It's almost Friday. It's Baby Friday Eve.
Baby Friday Eve? You say baby? Baby Friday
Because
Eve.
it's still early.
Yeah, no, I got it.
On the
Yeah.
Night Beat, it'll be.
I like it.
Okay.
Let's just not call it Thursday anymore. It's Baby Friday Eve.
Baby Friday.
Katie.
I really like that. I like that a lot, Pat.
Yeah.
Spoken like a mom of 3. Yeah.
It's got a maternal ring to it, that's for sure.
Okay, so y'all remember the rain we got earlier in the week? It was great, right?
Lovely.
So
I miss it.
You may have been looking, yeah, me too. You may have been looking forward to the drought monitor, but here's the thing with the drought monitor. We show it to you, it's new every Thursday, but it stops taking rain into account on Tuesday morning. So this does not reflect any of the rain we got on Tuesday. So things are still pretty dire out there as far as drought is concerned. I'll go back really quickly and kind of show you the change. So here's last week, 623. I'm going to progress it forward to this week, and again, not much change. Still a wide swath of exceptional drought across south central Texas. So the reason we didn't see a huge change, or really even a noticeable change, was because Tuesday's rain not taken into effect. We'll have to wait until next week to see any effects from Tuesday's much appreciated rainfall. Out there right now, check out the temperature in Houston. 80. They've got a lot of cloud cover over there because of that tropical disturbance that's out in the Gulf of Mexico. Meanwhile, around San Antonio, up into the hill country, a lot of us are sitting under mostly clear skies. We've got some puffy cumulus clouds up across the hill country, but I just wanted to note the difference that the high cloud cover is making off closer to the Houston area. And we've been talking about this for the past few days. There is an area of cloud cover, showers and storms out here in the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center is monitoring this to potentially become maybe a tropical depression here in the next 24 to 36 hours, but it's right up against the Texas Gulf Coast here. It doesn't have a lot of real estate, as Justin Horn likes to say. It's running out of real estate. It doesn't have a lot of water to work with. So that will kind of limit the potential for this to become any type of organized tropical cyclone. Either way, this is going to send pockets of heavy rain well east of our area, Houston, and then points eastward down to Galveston and then over to Beaumont, Lake Charles, Lafayette. That's where they're looking at multiple inches of rain over the next couple of days as this tropical system moves north. Meanwhile, in our area, we're only talking about low potential rainfall accumulations over the next 2 afternoons with just some spotty PM showers, resulting in likely less than 1/4 inch of rain. And that'll be if you're really lucky and you get one of those showers to pop up. So we do have that tropical disturbance in the Gulf, but just know it's going to send heavy rain well east of us. 98 now at the airport. There you go, Steve. Humidity is only at 30%. Steve doesn't like the humidity, so we've got it down a little bit for him. And things are really quiet. We're really quiet out there on radar. There were a few downpours along the sea breeze or an outflow boundary, but they unfortunately have fizzled out, and there's really nothing to see in terms of radar at this time. Futurecast heading into the next several hours wants to pop up a little shower here or there. The chances are very, very slim, and most of us will be rain-free for the remainder of the day. 7 a.m. tomorrow, a few clouds here or there, out-the-door temperatures in the mid-70s. As we head into tomorrow afternoon, similar to today, a few of those little hit-and-miss pop-up showers will be possible. Otherwise, high temperatures back in the mid to upper 90s, and even a few spots in the triple digits Friday afternoon, 100 from Hondo down to Divine and over to Pleasanton. Sneak peek of your fireworks forecast for Monday evening. It looks like it's going to be plenty warm, also breezy with a nice south-southeasterly wind, around 10 to 20 miles per hour. Otherwise, hot on Monday, guys.
Hopefully it's not another 2+ months till we see rain again.
Hopefully not, yeah. All right, so last time we heard from him was after the draft. Well, lots happened since then, so Andrew Seeley joined us, visited with the Spurs general manager today.
That is right. We're talking about Brian Wright and obviously the decision to trade DeJounte Murray and Jock Landale to the Atlanta Hawks. He made a decision. Is it the right decision? We come back, we'll hear from the general manager. Plus, surprise, surprise, Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn. Got that too next. It is is official. As of 2:45 this afternoon, the Spurs traded DeJounte Murray and Jock Landale to the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for 3 first-round picks over the next 4 seasons, the right to swap picks in 2026, and forward Danilo Gallinari, although reports are that San Antonio plans on waiving him. The Spurs drafted Murray back in 2016 and watched him blossom into a team leader and eventually an all-star point guard. Spurs general manager Brian Wright addressed the media this afternoon for the first time since making the trade, and he said the decision wasn't easy.
We didn't go into it with an idea of trading him, and that's how these things work. Oftentimes, I know when you're talking about it in the general space, it's, you're out shopping people, and we've never really done that. We're a team that wants to get better. We're a team that has a vision and understanding on how we have to do that, and oftentimes the conversations just take themselves there, and you try to put things in perspective where, okay, what could get us to think about it, to get us to react, and the conversations just got there over a period of time. But it wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick, and it wasn't anything we went into this offseason saying we have to trade DeJounte or we have to trade this player. It was each summer you reflect and understand where you're at and the timeline and the vision, and it just got to a place where it made sense for all parties.
More Spurs news today. San Antonio decided to pull their qualifying offer for Lonnie Walker IV, and now he's heading to the Lakers. The Athletic and Stadium's Shams Charania first reported moments ago that Walker signed with L.A. on a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. Here's Wright on the decision to let Lonnie walk.
I think the way the draft played out kind of changed the trajectory of our roster. And made the opportunities a little bit different than maybe they would have been had the draft gone a different way. And so we did decide to pull the qualifying offer, but again, he's going to be a player that continues to grow, and we're excited to follow his development wherever that lands.
So without DeJounte and Lonnie, the Spurs' longest tenured player is now Jakob Poeltl, who came to the Spurs in the now infamous trade that sent Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors in 2018. That might come as a shock, but the simple fact is that it's now up to the young guys like 19-year-old Joshua Primo and Joe Wieskamp to help get the new draft picks ready for the upcoming season. The Spurs recently tendered a qualifying offer to Wieskamp to keep him around, and he and Primo are excited to spend their second years working with the influx of 19-year-olds on the roster.
Josh and I are both trying to lead this team and just use that experience that we had to, help teach these guys a thing or two. We've been around the program and know what the coaching staff expects out of us. So just trying to take little pieces of what we've learned and help these guys out.
Primo has already been active helping the new Spurs adjust. Here's what 25th overall pick Blake Wesley had to say at this morning's shoot-around.
First day, he taught me a lot of things. Like, don't let the mistakes get to you. Everybody make mistakes. Then I had a bad shooting day. He was like, keep shooting. Like, everybody has a bad shooting day. So, yeah, he's been good to me. Been over his house, kicking with him, so it's been good.
So with the Summer League on the horizon, NBA free agency is changing the shape of the league. NBA superstar Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski broke that news this afternoon. Durant has informed the Nets that he would like to head to either Phoenix or Miami, but Brooklyn is said to be looking for the best possible trade partner and package, not necessarily what would make KD happy. Durant has 4 years remaining on his contract. He is 33 years old and wouldn't become an unrestricted free agent until 2026. He also averaged just a tick under 30 points this last season, so he clearly still has it. To be interesting to see where he ends up and how that ends up shaping the NBA.
He's becoming a nomad of the NBA.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
Very different than how it used to be with Duncan and Kobe staying in the same spot for their entire careers.
Have basketball will travel, Kevin Durant.
All right, we'll be right back.
Without a doubt, there's been a lot happening in the state of Texas in just the last week, and certainly since the last time we talked to Scott Braddock, who's the editor at the Quorum Report. You can, of course, see that at the quorumreport.com. Am I saying that right, Scott?
You got it, Steve. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Let's talk about the idea of a special session. Are you seeing any change in that at all since the last time we talked?
No, and I'm actually encouraged at the fact that so many Texans, maybe for the first time, are really paying attention to state government, asking whether there will be a special session of the legislature. But every indication I get, both from sources off the record and on the record, is that that is not happening at all. And of course, you have covered very well here on KSAT the fact that the governor called for special committees, and that was almost sort of a trick. A lot of people thought, oh, they heard the word special. And so they thought that meant a special session's happening. It's the exact opposite. The committees are set up, as in the estimation of some, as just a delay tactic so that there doesn't have to be any legislative action right now. And to be very clear, if state government was going to do real things, change laws when it comes to gun safety, school security, any of that, it would be the governor and the governor alone who can make that happen. And so far, he's choosing not to.
And, you know, we've had a lot of big topics that have come up with the shooting in Uvalde, gun legislation, and now the migrant deaths. Is there anything else that could potentially happen? These are huge topics that could really prompt a special session.
You know, the thing about a special session is that it's a 30-day window for lawmakers to arrive at some kind of a solution. And so you're right. There are all of these big topics, big issues that Texans are grappling with. But the fact is, leadership doesn't have specific plans lined up already to present to lawmakers. You know, if the governor had a specific plan for any of the things you're talking about, he could call a special session and ask lawmakers to pass legislation that would make his plans happen, make them possible. But so far, he doesn't have any, and he's looking forward to the next regular session in January.
We're showing pictures, obviously, from the governor's news conference yesterday when he was down in Eagle Pass. You have very good sources on both sides of the aisle with Democrats and Republicans. Yeah. Are people around the governor concerned about the fact that the polls seem to be tightening between himself and Beto O'Rourke?
You know, the polls we're seeing right now, and was looking at one just this past week that showed that Beto O'Rourke was within 5 points of Abbott. I mean, that's possible. One thing that you have to keep in mind is when you're talking about polling, it's not a predictor of the future. It's just a diagnostic tool. It's supposed to tell you kind of where the race is right now. And this is before a lot happens, right? We've got months of campaigning to go. You know, we're not through the summer yet. And the governor really hasn't unleashed his mountain of money, his almost unlimited resources. You know that the governor at one point, and this might still be true, I'd have to go back and check, but at one point, he had more money in his campaign account than the Republican National Committee. And so he has unlimited resources. Beto O'Rourke will get a better idea of his finances coming up with campaign finance reports in a few weeks. But until then, we won't really know exactly what the real picture is financially for these two guys. But the issues on the table, as Patty said, are huge, and people want the governor to do something about them. He's just not doing it yet.
Yeah, at one point, wasn't his war chest something in the neighborhood of $60 million? I mean, it was absolutely. It is a huge war chest for Governor Abbott, that's for sure.
Huge, and he spent about $15 million to get through his primary, which of course he won with 66% of the vote.
And I'm kind of curious, how long do we wait? Would there be any inaction that he takes now on any of the big issues that we're doing? Could they potentially hurt him, or is, like you said, is it too early in the game?
You know, the thing that I keep coming back to with the governor's race is that Democrats in this state still really, it's an uphill climb for them, right? And they would have to sort of hit the inside straight when it comes to a lot of different issues to even have a competitive race. Some of those things are starting to break their way, I think. I think people are still very worried about the electricity grid. I saw a private poll on that just the other day that said across demographic groups, people are concerned about electricity. I would have thought that that would be one of the things that might have sort of started to fade for people. But as you may know, according to new state law, ERCOT, you know, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas and some energy providers, they have to send you text messages and get you up to speed on what's happening, even if there hasn't been a real blip just yet, at least in your lights at home, or the AC is still on. But, you know, we're hearing all the time about different problems with the electricity grid. So it's still top of mind for people, whether it's the grid, whether it's Roe versus Wade being overturned, whether it's these deaths, the border deaths, there's the gun violence issue that we were talking about. There's so many things that can make it a competitive race for the Democrats. But Patty, they would still, Beto and the other Democratic candidates would still have to close the deal, and they haven't demonstrated the kind of financial wherewithal or the kind of message that it takes to get that done just yet.
Yeah, and a good indicator of that will be to see how much money Beto's been able to raise after all these things. You brought up a lot of the significant things that we've seen nationally, you know, with Roe v. Wade being overturned, gun control, obviously immigration is becoming a huge issue. Certainly here in San Antonio, it's always been, but perhaps nationally more because of what happened with the migrants on the south side of our city. I am curious if nationally we're seeing people energized by this. Are you seeing that in the state of Texas at all?
I think that we're starting to, and one thing to point out to your viewers is that, and I say this all the time, I sound like a broken record, but I'll say it once again, the election of consequence until proven otherwise in Texas is the Republican primary. And so, for example, when it comes to Roe versus Wade and it comes to abortion rights, the kind of policy prescriptions that are coming from the Texas Capitol are designed to appeal to primary voters. Until the general election really matters and a Democrat punches through and can win there in a statewide race, the Republican Party and the Republican office holders are going to continue to cater to that Republican base because that's the way that they get reelected. That's where their power is derived from. But let's not, let's not leave this out. The main thing that's driving people right now to be angry with the president and with the party in power in Washington, and this accrues to the benefit of Texas Republicans, it's the economy. You know the old axiom, it's the economy, stupid. It always comes back to that, right? And people are worried about inflation. People are worried about the higher price of everything. A lot of people canceling their 4th of July trips right now because there's $5 gas. That's the kind of thing. All of these other things we're talking about affect groups of people and large groups of people, but the economy affects everyone.
Scott, one more question before we let you go. Could I convince you that maybe the governor's race isn't the place where Democrats are going to break through, that maybe there's a down ballot campaign statewide? Maybe it's the lieutenant governor, maybe it's the attorney general. I mean, do you think one of those is more likely than the governor's race?
Yeah, that's the way it's happened before. Decades ago, it was a U.S. Senate race. Then it was the agriculture commissioner race when Rick Perry beat Jim Hightower years ago. And of course, Perry, who was always ahead of, eventually the governor was always ahead of the political trends. He switched from being a Democrat to a Republican. He was the first Republican office holder, major one, to speak to a Tea Party rally back in 2010. And a lot of establishment Republicans thought that was going to get him killed. Instead, it killed politically, but instead, it accrued to his benefit. He did well because of that. We have a lot of changing demographics in the state. You always hear, Steve, right, that demographics is destiny, but that's not true. Demographics in politics equals opportunity. And Texas is a changing state, from a partisan standpoint. I mean, former President Trump, he beat Biden in this state by 6 points. That's the worst performance by a GOP nominee for president in a generation in Texas. We're nowhere near as Republican as California is Democratic. In Texas, Trump carries it by 6, but Joe Biden carried California by almost 30 points. They're much more solid Democrat there than we are Republican here.
It's all who gets out the vote, though, as you and I both know. Scott Braddock.
Absolutely.
Editor with the Quorum Report. Always appreciate your time, Scott.
Thank you so much, Scott.
We'll be right back.
All right, for the 4th of July weekend, a bit of good news for people planning to take a trip. Gas prices in the U.S. are falling. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular is nearly $4.86.
That's about a 9-cent drop from last week. Lower oil prices and the fear of a potential recession helping the cost of gas go down. Analysts say that trend may continue for at least the next few days. AAA predicts close to 48 million Americans, though, will travel at least 50 miles from home between June 30th and July 4th, and that demand could move prices back up.
I'm not traveling too far, just about 2 blocks from my house to the pool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Is that walking or driving?
I drive it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Especially when it's 100 degrees out, right?
Yes.
I don't blame you. And if with those kiddos you got stuff to carry, just drive it. I don't blame you at all. The pool will be a good place to be over the next several days, all the way through the holiday weekend, really. And we wrap up June with a high temperature today of 98. And even though we didn't finish the month on a triple-digit note, still the hottest June on record with an average temperature, lows and highs put together of 87.7 degrees. We'll talk more about the 4th of July weekend. Get you a tropics check coming up.
All right, it is warm outside, but it's the 4th of July.
You expect
it's supposed to be.
It could be worse.
Exactly. If there's one time it's supposed to be hot, it's 4th.
Yeah, I'd be more surprised if it wasn't hot on the 4th of July.
Yes.
That's for sure. And I do have a sneak peek of that forecast for you in the planning forecast coming up. But let's get a gauge of what's going on out in the tropics. We've been talking the last couple of days about that orange X there on the left-hand side of your screen, that tropical disturbance that could develop into something either way. It takes heavy rain well east of us. But there are a couple of other things going on out in the Atlantic basin. out to the east, still out in the open Atlantic, there's a disturbance there that has low odds of development over the next few days. But working into the southern Caribbean, this red X here is more organized and has better odds of becoming at least a tropical depression, potentially our next named storm. If that happens over the next couple of days, it would take the name Bonnie, but this is expected to stay in the southern Caribbean and affect Central America over the next couple of days. So let's come back closer to home, talk a little bit more about this area of rain and cloud cover out in the Gulf of Mexico. This is a very lopsided system. All of the rain is here on the east side of the system, and that is a for sure sign that this low pressure system out there is not very organized and that it's pretty weak. When tropical systems are lopsided, meaning all the rain is on one side of the system, typically means they're really not terribly organized. So here's what happens as we get into tomorrow afternoon and then Saturday. The rain with this disturbance moves north into parts of far east Texas and especially parts of the Louisiana Gulf Coast. So places from Beaumont over to Lake Charles, Lafayette area along I-10 between Houston and New Orleans. That's where we're looking at multiple inches of rainfall over the next couple of days because of this tropical disturbance. Even down near Galveston, it's likely going to be pretty rainy off and on over the next few days. North of the Houston area between Houston and Lufkin, closer to 2 inches of rain. As you work west from Houston to our area, rainfall totals, just some spotty showers next couple of afternoons, not going to add up to very much. So if your 4th of July plans take you along the Texas Gulf Coast east of Houston and then to parts of Louisiana, you're going to want to watch the rainfall from that system. But for our bays and beaches, we're talking down closer to Port A, Corpus Christi, not expecting to have big effects on the bays or the seas because of that weak tropical disturbance. Water temperatures down there this weekend expected to hover between about 86 and 89 degrees, so quite warm. Temperatures right now still in the triple digits from Del Rio down to Carrizo Springs, 102 in Catula, Kennedy 93 degrees, 96 in Gonzales, and 98 up in New Braunfels. It's 95 Helotes and 90 at Bernie Stage, still 98 at Stinson. I was hoping, see these little green specks here? This is a sea breeze that was moving in from the southeast. We were hoping that that would spark a couple of spotty showers here. That hasn't come to fruition just yet, and we're really running out of time. Also, across parts of the Western Hill Country, Edwards County, Northern Kinney County, there were a couple of teeny tiny little showers, and even those are fizzling out. So over the next hour or two, I can't rule out a brief little shower, but time is running out for even that to happen. After we get past sunset through tomorrow morning, really quiet out there, a few morning clouds possible, mostly sunny through midday and early afternoon. And then a few more of these pop-up spotty showers could bubble up late tomorrow afternoon into early tomorrow evening. Coverage of rain, once again, is going to be very, very low, but we have to leave in the mention for a quick little pop-up shower. Otherwise, a warm Friday for you, 75 in the morning, 96 your afternoon high. Very similar weather on Saturday, and then by Sunday, even that low chance of rain drops out of the forecast, and it will be sunny and hot through the 4th of July. Things are looking good for fireworks festivities Monday evening. It should be nice and breezy on Monday too, and we always like that breeze to help us out this time of year, guys.
I want one of those little pop-ups right over the KSAT community garden. Have you seen my tomatoes?
Yeah, I have.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, you've done a really good job out there. I see you out there watering every once in a while.
It's a bad cause.
I know you're out there. I know you're up to something out there.
We call it therapy.
Yeah, in case you missed it, coming up next.
Here's today's In Case You Missed It.
It's Thursday, June 30th.
A wide range of emotions playing out inside Uvalde City Council meeting today. Parents, relatives, citizens, teachers voicing their anger and frustrations with the lack of answers being released in that shooting investigation.
The City Council and Mayor Don McLaughlin basically reiterating that their hands are tied and they cannot release information about that shooting at Robb Elementary. Dozens of family members of the victims were in the room today. They called for the removal of Uvalde District Attorney Christina Mitchell Busby.
Another tragic case of human smuggling happening in South Texas today. 4 immigrants killed, 2 more critically injured in a crash around 8:30 this morning. Among the victims were 2 men from Guatemala and 1 from Mexico. The 4th man has not been identified.
Well, the day after police found dozens of bodies in and around a tractor trailer, Sheriff Javier Salazar typed a letter to President Biden asking for a meeting with him and other Texas sheriffs from urban counties. He says he's heard back from the White House and he plans to bring possible solutions to the table. The ones he mentioned us, though, included making legal entry into the United States easier and federal funding for cities and counties that would be considered migration hubs.
In a 5-4 opinion, the High Court gave the White House the green light to end the controversial Remain in Mexico immigration policy. The court says federal law does not require the administration to send migrants it doesn't detain back to Mexico to await U.S. hearings on their asylum claims.
Today, for the first time ever, a black woman sworn into the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ketanji Brown Jackson's swearing-in ceremony coincides with the start of retirement for outgoing Justice Stephen Breyer.
Oh, right. I know we're not technically to the weekend just yet, but I'm sure you're already thinking about the 4th of July on Monday for fireworks time. It's still going to be warm, near 90 at dusk, mostly clear skies. Thankfully, it looks like it'll be pretty breezy Monday evening and Monday night with south-southeast winds 10 to 20, so that breeze always helps us out. Next couple of days, a spotty afternoon, early evening shower isn't out of the question, but most of us will miss out, and it'll just be hot heading into the long holiday weekend. And in case you missed it, we just lived through the hottest June on record here in San Antonio, going back to 1885. So congratulations, everyone.
You know, one of my favorite 4th of July and New Year's Eve traditions is to go outside when there are not supposed to be any fireworks, and all you hear are fireworks. It's one of my favorite San Antonio
But
things
that
to
doesn't
do.
happen in San Antonio, no.
One of my favorite things to do, Patty.
Have a great night.